Hello, AP Precalc students. This is Mr. Salas once again with your chapter 1 study guide questions. We're going to go ahead and be looking at the last question of our study guide. It says, given this piecewise function, create a table of values for the first 6 values beginning with 0. Ooh, okay, let's see. So if we're looking for our first values starting at 0, well, first of all, when we create our table, we need to be able to identify which equation we're using for which part. So this x is x is less than 3. So for this problem, I'm going to be using values 0, 1, 2, and 3. Why am I including 3 if it's not an equal then sign? Well, you'll see why in a bit, okay? And then for this value, it says for this equation, you're going to use values that are greater than 3. So I'm going to go ahead and say 3, 4, 5, and 6. They asked us for the first 6 values. So since we're starting with 0, we have to go all the way to 6 and get to our... Sorry, we have to start with 0 and end off with 6, okay? So we're going to go ahead and create a table for each of our equations. So my first equation is going to be 1, 2, 3. And the equation that we're using is 2x minus 5. And then here's going to be our y values. So this would be our x. This would be our original equation. And then this would be our y values, okay? So instead of writing an x, we're going to go ahead and put a 0. So 2 times 0 is 0 minus 5 gives me negative 5. 2 times 1 minus 5. 2 times 1 gives me 2. Minus 5 gives me negative 3. So this would be negative 3. 2 times 2 gives me 4. Minus 5, that gives me negative 1. And last but not least, 2 times 3 gives minus 5. So it's 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 5 gives me positive 1. There is our first table. Our second table. Whoops, hopefully I don't move anything on my mouse. We're looking at x right here. We're looking at our function, which is negative x minus 3 squared plus 3 is equal to y. We're going to go ahead and type this in. The first thing you want to do, you want to solve what's inside your parentheses. So technically you would have to do FOIL and all these other things to create the table. But guess what, class? I'm going to go ahead and cheat. I'm going to use Desmos. But I'm going to go ahead and use Desmos to find values 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. So 3 would be negative 3 minus 3 squared plus 3. The next one would be negative 4 minus 3 squared plus 3. The next one would be negative 5, minus 3 squared plus 3. And the last one would be negative parentheses 6 minus 3 squared plus 3. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and cheat. Well, it's not really cheating because on the test, I will allow you to use Desmos or the graphing calculator. So it's negative x minus 3 squared. Oh, whoops, that's why. Let me make this into a lowercase x because it's not understanding what I'm saying. Plus 3. So there's our graph. We don't care about the graph. Who cares about the graph? What I do want to see is a table. So in case you didn't see, In case you didn't see how I create a table, once I type in my equation onto Desmos, I click on this little gear where it says edit list. I click on it and then I click on table, create table. And ta-da, that gives me my table. I'm looking for values 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't care about that last one, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete it, okay? So those are the values that I get. I get 3, 2, -1, -6. I get 3, 2, 1, -6, right? Was that it? Let me double check. 3, 2, -1, -6. -1, -6. Perfect. There is my table. It says sketch the graph of this function. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw a graph here. By the way, you can use Desmos to create this table for both. I just wanted to show you how to do it manually versus how you do it on Desmos. Or you can choose to do it on your graphing calculator. Whichever way you want to learn how to do it. If you want to learn it on your graphing calculator, just go ahead, pause the video and come over to me and I will show you how to graph it on your calculator. That way you know multiple ways. But if you just are cool with learning it on Desmos for now and then your calculator sometime in a future lesson, I am okay with that as well. Like I said, for your test, I will allow you to use Desmos. Okay? So if I'm sketching this function, I'm going to graph the points here. So for these points, I have to be a little bit on the accurate side. So I notice for my x values, I have to go from 0 to 6. So my x has to be a little bit on the extended side. My y values, they go from -6 to +3. So my y values have to be a little bit longer. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put 0 right here. This is going to be 1. This is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6. For my y values, it's going to be -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It doesn't matter. Boom, 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 and boom. Okay? And then we have our graph over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So we're sketching this graph. So these are the values I'm including. So I'm going to go ahead and graph my 0 to 3 values. So 0, -5. So at 0, I go to down -5. I have a point here. At 1, -3. So I go to 1 down to -3. That's a point here. At 2, -1. That's a point here. Next up, 3, 1. Is that one going to be included? No, that is not going to be included. Whoops. That is not going to be included. So at 3, at 3, 1, I'm going to go ahead and put an empty hole. That's going to be an empty hole. Okay. Next up, I'm going to go over to 3, 3. I can see why there's going to be some confusion. So let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 3, 1 would be right here. This would be my point there. That's a circle. Sorry, we're looking back at 383. So at 3 and 3, that gives me a solid dot right here. At 4, 2. So I go to 4 and 2, and I have a regular dot here as well. 5, -1. This is 5. This is -1 there. And then 6, -6. So I go to 6 and then down to -6. This is my graph. So when I connect the dots, it's going to look something like this. And then there's an empty hole. And then it jumps up. And then it comes back down this way. And there is my graph. Remember, this bottom hole, this one right here, That one is empty because it is not included just because of this side. Okay, where it says x is less than 3. And then this hole is full because x is greater than 3 and it's including that 3 for this equation. Okay, so that is how we do a rough sketch. Now question, it says, does this graph have an inverse? I'm going to go ahead and tell you, no, it does not have an inverse. No inverse. How do I know? Well, because it does not pass the horizontal line test. The horizontal line test is if I take a straight line and I run it from top to bottom, or bottom from top, or bottom to top, sorry. If I touch more than 2 points at a single part of my line, then it fails the test and it does not have an inverse. So I'm going to go ahead and create a straight line right here. Oh, now it doesn't want to create an automatic straight line. So let's see. I'm going to do this right here. Let's see. Does it create a straight line? Nope. Okay, whatever. So this line has a point there and a point here. I'm just going to write horizontal line test. So that way you know what we're talking about. So if it fails, no inverse. 2 points touched at the horizontal line test. So 2 points touch at the horizontal line test. So just because it touched the graph at these 2 points, it does not have an inverse, okay? I will see you in the next one, all right? Later.